Another day is starting in Labrador's northernmost community. Some are waking up without water or heat, others in cramped and overcrowded houses. At Kenneth Dicker's home, he wakes up under threat of his ceiling falling in on top of him.
The worst place is right here. I actually punched a hole in here before to let it brook right into a bucket.
Dicker is retired and a widower, a father and a grandfather.
I got to keep the water running right, like slow. If I don't, it's going to freeze. So then get up next morning, you want to have a shower, you got to thaw out the ice first.
A man of few words who just wants to live comfortably.
The repairs would be all right for me. I'd stay here if it was repaired.
He would, but some people in the community say he shouldn't.
These windows are really thin too, right?
Dicker was approved with the Nunatiavut Housing Commission for repairs last fall, but it hasn't happened yet. Any other options are few and far between.
Because I was kind of thinking I might be accepted for a senior's apartment, but it's denied. Yeah. We don't hear anything about vacancy around here. It's not even mentioned or anything's vacant. They don't tell you.
In Nain, there is nowhere to go if you need a gallon of paint, bucket of tar, or piece of plywood. You need money and means to make repairs yourself. That's just one of the many glaring issues discovered by this country's housing advocate when she visited Dicker's home and many others last year.
When we talk about, the housing crisis across the country and who is really in crisis, I would say, people in the north are in crisis. Inuit in the north are in crisis. This is an absolute crisis because they have no choice. They have nowhere to go.
Ool was invited into Nain and Hopedale last fall. She toured the communities with representatives from the Nunatiavut Housing Commission.
There's one house that I will never forget. There was a separation between the walls and the floor and the ceiling, and it was held together by foam insulation because everything was buckling because the house is shifting. And I'm so worried about this woman that's living there and she has no other place to go.
That woman is Nancy Sillett. She and her husband have lived and raised a family here for decades. Perched on the edge of the ocean, the house is shifting.
The ground is gone and you could see the bottom of the foundation, so there's a chunk of ground missing on that end. I guess that's why it's falling even more. Up in that corner.
Black mold grows faster than she can clean it.
I got plastic, like I said, on every window in here except for the one in the porch and kitchen.
On this day, the problems are outside of the home. A copper pipe has burst. They have no water and don't know when it can be fixed. Nancy Sillett knows it's not safe to live here, has repeatedly been denied for repairs. Now she fears it's just too late.
It's our home.
The thing to understand about these areas is there is such a shortage of housing that people have no choice than to be where they are, and they can't double up with other people because the homes already have, 13 people living in them.
Josephine Semiak knows this all too well.
I always tell them to come in here or sleep here overnight like that. Because my parents used to tell me that make them welcome or let them sleep over, or I'm trying my best to keep them comfy in here.
One of the people who Josephine keeps warm and safe is her daughter Susie. She's been couch surfing since her house burned to the ground in 2017, all while she's battling cancer.
It's very hard. Makes me cry.
It's okay. Take your time. Take your time.
But Josephine needs help too. The cost of food in Nain is some of the highest in the country. Stove oil is costly too, and her snowmobile is broken down, so getting wood isn't easy. Her home gets bitterly cold, and for years now, she hasn't had hot water.
Take the pot, make hot water out here, make it warm or make it hot, and put that one in the bath. Go put this in my tub so I can have a bath. And wait all the water. It's really hard sometimes to get hold of people.
Yeah, and
to
also
fix all the stuff I need.
yeah, and to know who can help, right?
Leela Evans says the trouble with being an MHA is that she wants to fix everyone's problems. But on the north coast of Labrador, there are simply too many to fix and have been going on for too long.
A lot of people don't really realize that the communities north of Nain was forcibly resettled, was relocated down into the communities, and it created a lot of overcrowding, lack of housing, and a lot of social issues.
When it comes to housing on the North Coast, Evans says there are two main issues. One being maintenance of the homes that exist, the other, the homes that don't. Yet these Newfoundland and Labrador housing units sit vacant and have been for years, allowing what may have began as a small repair snowball into something much more costly.
You look at Newfoundland Labrador housing, they fail to live up to their mandate, right? And who are they failing? They're failing the most vulnerable, the low-income families, the single parents, the people who are really struggling.
It boils my blood. It feels like they don't care. They don't care about our people. Like we're just set aside.
At the Nain Inuit Community Government Building, a town map shows every house in town. Anglekok or Mayor Joe Dicker and Itulok know who lives in each one and their story. Housing has always been bad, they say, but it's getting worse.
This vacant, this vacant.
We had to act like it's a crisis. We have to take it seriously. We have to do something about it now.
It seems everyone is struggling with housing, no matter a person's income or status. Even the town manager herself has faced housing challenges in the past.
We had 14 people in our 4-bedroom house, and we had to take turns like sleeping on the floor. Having 14 people's winter gear all in one small porch, like you can't move, it's very stressful.
Sounds overwhelming.
It is, yeah.
And when houses are too overcrowded, sometimes that leaves children with no other place to go than here. Supper's almost ready at the Martin Group home. Margie Fox takes in children whose families cannot care for them. Sometimes, Fox says, the only barrier to keeping kids with family is a suitable home, one that's safe and not overcrowded.
You hear and see the desperation that they have to try to find, they're looking themselves, trying to find anywhere in the community that are able to take them so they can stay in the community.
And if the group home is full, kids are put on a plane and sent out, all because of an ongoing housing crisis.
It's heartbreaking, I've seen it happen so many times that many young children move away and they come back when they're older and they're misplaced then. They didn't grow up in the community, they do have family members here, but they don't have that sense of belonging. And they lose their relationships, and then there become more issues, more social issues because of that.
And it's not just children shipped out of the community, but elders too. With no assisted living in town, elders in Nain often die in nursing homes in Goose Bay or elsewhere, without their language, culture, or food.
We have no housing stock to address their needs and no resources to address their needs either. So it is about, not just roofs and walls, it is about a continuum of housing spectrum that will address the needs of an entire population throughout their lives.
Construction is happening in Nain. These seniors' apartments, a well-needed addition in town. But with servicing a piece of land costing $250,000 a pop in Nain and a sewage system in need of repair, even people who can afford land and a home are stuck. More than 30 individuals or families are on a waiting list here for land, including the Jenkins family.
If you can't get any land here, we're 23rd on the wait list for a plot of land.
The Jenkins did have a home, but moved away to PEI for several years before the call of home drew them back. They've lucked into a rental house.
I noticed, yeah.
But even with good salaries, there are simply no homes to buy, even if vacant properties are scattered throughout town.
It's really frustrating, really, really frustrating, because when we first got here, when we first moved back, it was like, oh, this one's empty. Oh, this one's empty.
There's a number of empty lots. People don't have proper title to. Title issue is a big problem here. Like, there's a number of empty lots that people could probably build on, but they don't have the right title to it, which is something that we can't help them with because it's all in St. John's, right? Registry of Deeds.
For Joe Dicker, there are many failures, reasons why they've gotten to this point, from the province to the federal government, even, he says, the Nunavut government.
Indeed, it's becoming a carbon copy of what the government is now. We're supposed to become self-government and apply our own rules. But from what I see, the government is becoming just like the other government, the provincial government.
Joe Dicker fears bureaucracy will hinder progress and lose track of the people in most need.
And a lot of people are going to fall through the cracks.
One of the key recommendations in this report is that the Fed should enable Inuit governments to assume jurisdiction over housing programs and services, starting with establishing proper funding levels.
We know what the need is. We know how to deliver the programs, but we need to be able to do it in a way that works for our programming. And I think that once we get to that stage, then we'll be in a better place to ensure that the housing needs is worked on and met in a way that's effective.
Housing on the coast of Labrador is not pretty, a thorn in an otherwise stunning view. But Williams says Canadians have to see it, to fix it, to right wrongs. Uhl hopes people take notice.
We can't keep this hidden any longer.
Ariana Kelland, CBC News, Nain.